Hi, I'm Chrissy with Looker Developer Relations. Today we're going to talk about formulas and Looker reports. Formulas and Looker reports are reliable, but selecting the right patterns and fixing syntax errors steals time and can make us weary. We've all been there staring at a blank formula editor, wondering how to express our changes with the right syntax. Then we finally figure out how to translate a calculation and save it, but we're missing a parentheses. Ugh! What if you could minimize this frustration by telling a Looker report exactly what you mean? With Gemini and Looker Formula Assistant, we can dodge syntax errors and discover helpful patterns. When you're trying to transform your data, calculations range from straightforward to confusing and complex. Regardless of complexity, though, they can just be plain tedious to write. Searching for documentation and examples online is definitely helpful, but instead of hunting through results, now those answers are right at your fingertips. Formula Assistant is a prompt-based AI tool that takes a single prompt and suggests a formula for you, so you can apply the suggestion, edit it, or save it, or you can refine it with that prompt thread. Formula Assistant saves me time by correcting my syntax and providing me with examples and patterns of formulas, and the model continues to improve. For complicated formulas, I found I can use Formula Assistant to help me establish basic patterns, which I can use as building blocks to create the formulas I need. Let's run through a few examples of how Formula Assistant can handle different types of calculated fields. If you haven't already connected Looker Studio to a data source, there's a link below to get you started. To get used to the flow, let's locate the Formula Assistant. On the bottom of your Looker Studio data panel, you'll see an option to add a field. Selecting that opens up a few choices. When you choose Add Calculated Field, if you have access to Gemini and Looker, it can help you write your formula. The dialog box opens to a list of suggestions for possible prompts. This is useful if what you want is right among those prompts. I've connected to one of BigQuery's public datasets. The Dataflix Traffic Safety Accident Data Source allows me to analyze the effect of weather on traffic accidents around the United States. It consists of data from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the National Center for Statistics and Analysis, and the Bureau of Economic Analysis. Let's start with something simple. I want to analyze my data across multiple years to see if there are trends, patterns, or deviations over time. As you can see in my report, some of the years have a 2-digit year instead of a 4-digit year. In this dataset, we have another field called Date Partition that has the full date that we can use to supplement this column. So let's ask Gemini to extract the year from that field and call it Corrected Year. Ooh, that was interesting. Now we can see that there's a huge group of data points that don't have a date from Date Partition. So let's try this instead. Let's tell Gemini to create a field where if the year is 4 digits, use that year. Otherwise, extract the year from Date Partition. Okay, that looks better. The dataset separates pedestrians and people in vehicles, but I want to analyze all people involved. Here we ask Gemini to combine people not in a vehicle and people in vehicles. Gemini did a really great job of choosing the right fields there and calculating the new field correctly. I can now apply that formula and view the results. If Gemini chose the wrong column, it's very easy to refine the formula with a prompt or to edit it directly in the formula. I want to do something a little more difficult. I want to understand if there's a correlation between weather and number of accidents. My weather field has several descriptions of what the weather was on the day of the traffic incident. It also has unknown, not reported, and null entries. So let's ask Gemini to indicate if the weather is clear or rainy first. The outcome is a simple formula, but it's not bucketing the unknowns, and I see that snow and sleet are not being included as precipitation. To improve the formula, I'll reopen the editing panel. Here I want to make sure Gemini persists the old logic, so I'm going to indicate that it adds the new information instead of refreshing the entire formula. Updating the column gives me what I need. Finally, I'm going to ask Gemini to bucket the months by season in the Northern Hemisphere. The output is a formula that buckets the respective weather types into the categories I wanted. Not bad, Gemini, not bad. In this example, we've cleaned up the data, added new calculations, categorized features of the data that were important to us, and bucketed data to reveal clearer patterns. The Gemini model used in this feature adheres to the limitation of calculated fields. As you use it more, the patterns it suggests can be useful to build new calculations. Formula Assistant can help you ground your calculated fields in best practices by finding more efficient and direct ways to transform your data. Stay rigorous and be sure you continue to validate your data according to the quality standards of your team. As you use the tool, make sure you understand what it can and cannot do. I've included a link for reference. Also, please share your feedback, both in the tool and in the Looker community link below. What worked? What didn't? Share that with us so we can understand your needs and strengthen the model with your suggestions and use cases. Thanks for tuning in. I can't wait to hear from you and can't wait to chat again.